each time that it changed directions, it came a little bit lower. And what really got my heart beating out of fear was
almost 50 years since you had your first encounters or experiences with something that you saw. How old were you again? Can you actually give me the entire, give me that story. Give me the story of when you were young and what you saw.
Okay, I believe I was around 14. I'll have to check that. But the first situation, I was in Scouts, and it was something like a Monday night, and Scouts was over around 9 o'clock, and I had called my mom to come and pick me up. And she said, just go behind the church. This is in Sarnia, Ontario. Just go behind the church, because that was on another road, and she would come by there and pick me up. So I went outside to wait for my mom, and there were some kids playing on the road there. And I guess I looked older because I was wearing my Scouts tie and my hat. And they said, hey, mister, there's an airplane up in the sky. I looked up. I thought, that's not an airplane. It's not even a helicopter. It's not making any noise. And it was pretty close. It was like 800 feet up. The kids didn't seem to be too interested. They left, so I was there all by myself watching. Whatever it was going from the north to the south, parallel to the St. Clair River there. It was very close. It was like 800 feet up, and there was no sounds, which is what really spooked me out. And it seemed to be sort of disc-shaped and had what appeared to be a light in the bottom. And it seemed to be spinning so fast that it kind of looked like it was going backwards or something like that. As each time it went from the north to the south, it changed directions without slowing down, just like in a video game. And that was strange. I mean, this was 1966, I believe, long before they had video games. Nevertheless, it's a physical object, and how could it possibly be going in the other direction suddenly without coming to a stop and reversing? So my heart was just pounding away, because I thought, this is nothing from this earth. Each time that it changed directions, it came a little bit lower. What really got my heart beating out of fear was that I saw something moving behind this white light that was on the bottom, which kind of filled about a third of the diameter of this craft. And I just got very scared, and I had the sense that they were watching me and stalking me, and there was nobody else around. And I thought, I just hope my mom gets here now, because I don't like what appears to be happening here. And just in the next minute or two, she showed up. I said to my mom, you got to get out of the car and look at this thing up in the sky. I think it's a UFO. And she says, oh, don't be silly, Rob. It's an airplane, or it's a helicopter, or something like that. And I explained to her, it's not a helicopter. There's no blades. There's no sounds. The way it's moving, it's not a helicopter. It's not a plane, because it appears to be able to hover back and forth. And it took me the longest time to get my mom out of the car, and by the time she actually got out of the car and agreed to look at this thing, it was gone. And so she kind of thought I was making this whole thing up, and we went home, and I told my family. Everybody just made a big joke about it, and figured I'd made this whole thing up and was playing with their brains a little bit. And that was fine. And then the next day after school, my mom, when I got home, she pulls the paper out. She says, look, Rob, what you saw last night is on the front page of the newspaper. This is the Sarnia Observer. And she read it out to me, and she showed me where, yeah, we're right on the border between the States and Canada there. We're right across from Michigan, Port Huron, Michigan, and there's Selfridge Air Force Base just a few miles away on the river. And she says, look, the Air Force at Selfridge Air Force Base scrambled a couple of jets to go after this thing, and they didn't catch it. It got away at a high rate of speed. And there was lots of other stories about how other people had seen this as well. So it was kind of neat that I was validated that, you know, she knew I wasn't making this up. And everybody agreed that this was something I actually saw. And I was telling my friends at school, and another friend of mine, John, who lived right across the road from us, he said, "Oh, cool, wouldn't it be neat if we could see more of these?" And I said, "Well, let's go on the roof one night and see." So I think it was a couple weeks later. It was something like May of that year. We got all our stuff together, and it was a bungalow-style house, so it had a fairly low-pitch roof. We had everything. We had our blankets, we had our binoculars, we had our walkie-talkies, our compasses, our notebook and pen and tape recorder, our flashlight, everything. We were prepared as young kids to see UFOs. So I guess you could say we really had the intention in our mind to see UFOs. We were up there for maybe, oh gosh, 25 minutes, and we were starting to get a little cold. We hadn't seen anything. We were getting bored. We were busy watching the stars. We were, you know, seeing shooting stars. We were seeing planes, but we weren't seeing any UFOs. And we figured, you know what, we're not going to see anything. It's time to pack up and go. Just as I was gathering up the blankets, I happened to look to the north, and directly from the horizon, hundreds of lights, what appeared to be hundreds of miles, if not thousands of miles up in the sky, came from the north and went right across the sky, literally in 2 seconds, to the south sky. Once again, that spooked me out. It's like, "Did you see that?" And he said, "Yep." "What is it?" I said, "I don't know, but there's certainly lots of them." And we're busy chatting about that, what we just saw, and we look on our compass and rewind the tape recorder to see if there might be something on there. Nothing. And I just happened to look towards the south where they had gone, and lo and behold, just then they all came back again, and there was hundreds of these lights super high up in the sky, as far as you could see up in the sky, going right from the south all the way to the north again, to where they came from. We were kind of scared, we were excited, we didn't know what to do. So my folks were over at his folks' house having coffee, so we decided we better go and tell them what was going on. So we climbed down the antenna. It was one of these 3-pole masts with the crisscross. We just climbed down and took everything down. And we went tearing across the street to his place where my folks were. We were all excited about what we've seen. We told them, and everybody just laughed. So, you know, in a way it was a little bit humiliating. And they kind of made fun of it, and they really didn't want to hear any more about it. And they thought we had just made something up. But even though I had seen this one UFO just a couple weeks earlier, and was validated by that, going on now to see all these UFOs, that didn't seem to cut it. And there wasn't anything in the newspaper the next day because, you know, it was a cool evening and probably there weren't too many people out. Nobody was really looking up in the sky, and it really only happened over a few seconds. So we probably were the only two that saw that particular event that night. And I never saw anything again for the rest of my life, and I'd always wondered about those two things. You know, I've told people the story, and some people are skeptical, and I didn't really have any proof. So my oldest son, Zan, said to Mark and I, we had a day off at one point, and he said, "Why don't you and Mark go to Sarnia and try to see if you can get the newspaper accounting of what you saw, since it was in the newspaper." So we made a little video. I've got a YouTube channel. I thought, okay, we'll make a video for YouTube on this little adventure. So we actually did go to Sarnia. Mark, his girlfriend, and myself drove to Sarnia. We had been told that they would be in the library of the Sarnia, in the city of Sarnia, in the library, and therefore we could probably find it on microfilm there. We got to the library, we met with the lady, she was very helpful. We had about a 3-year period to look through because we didn't know exactly when this occurred. And she saw us spending time going through the microfilms, microfiches, and she said, "Maybe I can help you." She asked about the event. She went upstairs to her resource person. They did a search on the internet. They came down to an exact date. We went to the microfilm for that date, and we actually found the headline. I put it on YouTube. I printed it out, and there were all the stories. So once again, it was kind of neat. Some, 45 years later, to look this up and to be validated that, this just wasn't something I made up. This was an actual real event where the U.S. Air Force had scrambled jets after it and so on. I've now been told that my friend and I inadvertently summoned these UFOs. So I'm kind of skeptical. I'm interested to see, okay, if I did it once, can I do it again? Can the three of us as a group do it? Can we document this? Can we talk to people who have the ability to do this? Can we go to an event where they're summoning UFOs? And can we just be part of this and see if it's real? And can we document it? So we're on the road. We're just now going to talk to various different people who have seen things, have experienced things, just collect information and put this documentary together.